Hey friend, please subscribe. 1 second for you. Big deal for me.
I pulled into Kyle's driveway a little after noon, windshield streaked with salt from the highway. My back was killing me. 4 hours cramped behind the wheel with a pumpkin pie riding shotgun and a cooler full of leftovers in the back. I expected noise. Laughing, football on TV, the smell of turkey or at least something in the oven. Instead, the place was dead quiet. No shoes at the door, no voices upstairs, just silence. My name's Darren. I'm 58, live out near Springfield, Missouri. Used to be a mechanic, semi-retired now. Thought I was heading down for a warm Thanksgiving with my son, his wife, maybe even his mom. Thought wrong. Before we start, how's your day going, and where are you joining from? I pushed the front door open and stepped inside. The air was stale, like nobody'd been home in days. The only sound came from the living room, the slow creak of a recliner rocking. There he was, my dad, Stuart, 78, sitting too upright for someone who was supposed to be barely functional, according to Kyle. He was in the recliner, like he'd been waiting for me all morning, hands folded, eyes sharp. "Hey," I said, "where is everyone?" He didn't answer, just tilted his head toward the kitchen. I walked in and saw the note first, a cheap printer paper job, scribbled in Kyle's handwriting, taped flat to the table. "Gone on a cruise with Lisa. Mom came too. Take care of Dad. Back Monday. Kyle." I read it twice, then a third time, slower. Lisa. Not Nancy, his wife. Lisa, his assistant. My stomach flipped, not from hunger, from the kind of drop you get when the roller coaster tips forward and you're not ready. There was no food in the fridge. I checked twice. Some old cartons of lo mein, half a gallon of expired milk, and 2 fast food bags balled up on the bottom shelf. Not a single damn turkey leg. I turned to Dad. He was already watching me. "Shall we begin?" he said, like this was a script we were both late to. I didn't even sit down. Just stood there in the cold kitchen, staring at the note like it might rewrite itself if I waited long enough. He cleared his throat. "They left Monday," he said. "Been eating canned chili since?" The fridge door hung open behind me. I didn't close it. I looked around the kitchen again. Crumbs, sticky rings on the counter. No decorations, no tablecloth, no welcome. That's when I realized I wasn't a guest. I was the help. I tossed the note in the trash. "Not today," I muttered. Then I grabbed my keys and headed for the store. I didn't even take my coat off. Just yanked my phone out of my pocket, leaned against the counter, and opened Instagram. Kyle had gone private years ago, but I still had access. Some leftover courtesy from when we actually talked. First thing that popped up, a selfie on a cruise deck. Lisa was pressed up against him like static cling, both of them holding champagne flutes, the ocean all glittery behind them. Caption read, "New beginnings, Caribbean getaway, W, Lisa, and family." Family. I stood there with my hand around the phone like I wanted to crush it. I zoomed in. There was Nancy in the background, Kyle's mom, sun hat, sunglasses, wine glass. Like this was all normal. Like I didn't exist. I swiped again. Lisa feeding him shrimp. Kyle holding up a towel that said "Island time." Big white smiles. Not a single thought about the old man in the recliner or the guy they left to babysit him. "Unbelievable," I muttered. Dad didn't even flinch. "She's been calling here for months," he said, nodding toward the landline. "Used to leave voicemails. Real shrill voice. Talks too fast. You know the type." I stared at him. "You're telling me Kyle's mistress has been calling this house?" "She ain't shy, I'll say that." One time she asked what kind of urn I wanted. My stomach flipped again, this time lower, like it had dropped into my knees. I opened my banking app. I didn't expect to see much. Just wanted to check. Maybe order some takeout. The account loaded. Balance, $112.47. I blinked. Refreshed. Same number. I scrolled down and there it was. 4 withdrawals, all in the last 2 weeks. Each one just under $1,000. Total, $4,300. Gone, wiped clean. I'd been building that account ever since my wife died. Scraping together overtime, side gigs, odd jobs. That money was supposed to go toward opening a little garage, a father-son deal. Kyle had picked out the name, DK Customs. I turned to Dad. They cleaned me out. He raised one eyebrow. You think you're the first? He got up with a grunt, shuffled to the thermostat. They've been skimming off me too. For my care, they say. Meanwhile, thermostat's been stuck at 63 for 2 winters. Last warm meal I had was from Meals on Wheels, and that was by accident. I looked around. No groceries, no heat. The man was wearing 2 pairs of socks and fingerless gloves inside his own house. Jesus, I muttered. How long's this been going on? Long enough I stopped expecting hot coffee, he said, walking back to his recliner. My hands weren't shaking from the cold anymore. They were shaking from rage. I could feel it, coiled up in my chest like barbed wire. They're on a damn cruise while we sit here freezing, eating scraps like raccoons, I said. Dad picked up the remote, but didn't turn the TV on. Just held it like a prop. You don't have to stay. I'll be fine. That ticked me off even more. Nah, I said, grabbing my keys. Screw this. We're eating a real dinner. Dad gave me a look, half smirk, half surprise. You got a plan? Yeah, I said. It's called not eating gas station jerky on Thanksgiving. I opened the fridge one more time just to confirm. Same rotting milk, same sad pile of ketchup packets. I slammed the door shut and headed out. As I reached the door, I heard Dad mutter behind me. Took you long enough. I paused. What's that supposed to mean? Just glad you're finally standing up, he said, not looking at me. Been waiting to see if you had it in you. I didn't answer, just yanked the door open and stepped into the cold. Out in the truck, I sat there a second before starting the engine. My phone buzzed again. Another picture from Kyle, him doing shots, some steel drum band in the background. Island life, baby. I fired up the engine, floored it out of the driveway, and hit the main road toward the nearest grocery store. Turkey, potatoes, pie, a hot damn meal, the kind a family should have had today. Not because it would fix anything, but because I was done playing the fool. I came back with 2 bags cutting off the blood flow in my fingers. Turkey breasts, green beans, boxed stuffing, cornbread mix, a half-gallon of sweet tea. I'd even grabbed a frozen pie. When I walked through the door, the kitchen didn't look like the same room. Counters were wiped clean, trash had been taken out, and my dad was standing next to the dining table with a manila folder in his hand. Figured I'd do my part, he said, nodding at the bags. And there's something you ought to see. I set the groceries down and gave him a look. What's that? He slid the folder across the table. Evidence. I opened it. Inside were printed bank statements with red pen circles, photocopies of old medical bills, receipts for equipment that never showed up, records showing Nancy cashing checks under Dad's name. He even had timestamps next to some of the statements. You've been tracking all this? I asked. He sat down, knees popping loud as bubble wrap. Started 2 years ago when the groceries stopped matching the receipts. At first I thought I was being paranoid. Then my meds started coming late. Then they didn't come at all. I flipped a page. There was a picture of his ankle, swollen and bruised. From a fall he said Nancy never mentioned to anyone. You showed Kyle this? He nodded. Last March, at the doctor's office. I looked up. Wait, you went to the doctor with Kyle? His expression didn't change. Stage 4 pancreatic cancer, diagnosed 7 months ago. They gave me 3 to 6. That was in May. I just stood there, couldn't move, couldn't speak. They know? I finally said. Yep, he said. Kyle sat in the damn room when the doctor told me. Looked real sad for about 15 minutes. Then started asking about hospice and power of attorney. My stomach turned. That's when they bailed? The very next day. Told the neighbors they were burned out. Needed a break from all the caregiving. He leaned back in his chair, pulled a folded piece of paper from his jacket. Thing is, they think they left me with a burden. He tossed the paper onto the folder. What they really left us with is leverage. I picked it up. It was a draft of a new will, notarized, dated 2 weeks ago. His assets, whatever he had, went to Charity and me. Not a single mention of Kyle, not Nancy, not even Brooke. You already did this? I asked. He gave a dry laugh. You think I was going to wait for the vultures to circle? Patricia helped. You remember her? Used to be my attorney. Still is. I kept reading. Everything was in legal language, but the meaning was plain. Kyle and his crew had been erased. I'm not asking you to take care of me, he said, but I am asking you to help me finish what I started. You in or not? I sat down, hard. My knees didn't want to work. Why me? I asked. You and I barely talked for 10 years. Because, he said, you're the only one who came back. He was right. Brooke didn't show up. Nancy only came when she had something to gain. Kyle? He left a sticky note and hit the Caribbean. I looked at him, the old man in a flannel shirt, thinned out from the weight loss, but still stubborn as ever. You're really dying? I asked. Fast and quiet. Like a coward, he said. Can't even punch a wall or scream about it. Just wasting away. Silence settled over the kitchen for a minute. The refrigerator clicked on. My eyes went back to the folder. How much are we talking about? I asked. In terms of assets. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Let's just say they've been busy draining the piggy bank while I was hiding the gold bars. I didn't laugh. Neither did he. I pushed the will back toward him. If we do this, we do it right. No screw-ups, no drama, just clean cuts. He leaned forward, placed his hand on the folder. You help me make it to the end with some dignity, and I'll make sure they get nothing but memories. I stood up, grabbed the turkey breasts, and walked to the stove. Start preheating the oven, I said. We're having a real damn dinner tonight. He didn't move, just smiled and said, Now that's my boy. I opened the cabinet and found a dented roasting pan. Started rinsing the turkey under cold water while my head buzzed. Somewhere between rage and resolve, I knew I'd just signed on for something bigger than revenge. This was war. By the next morning, the house wasn't a home anymore. It was a damn war room. We cleared out Dad's bedroom first. I moved his old dresser into the hallway and laid down a roll of clear plastic over the carpet like we were prepping for a crime scene. Patricia's brother, Greg, ran a medical supply outfit 2 towns over. No questions asked. By noon, he'd dropped off 2 oxygen tanks, a hospital bed, pill bottles with legit-looking labels, and even a used walker with tennis balls already scuffed at the feet. I took a photo of Dad lying in bed, his skin looking pale under the shitty yellow light. We dimmed the bulbs on purpose. I slumped into the chair next to him, face slack, hand over my eyes like I'd been crying for hours. Snap. Sent it to Brooke with the message, It's happening fast. Might be time to come home. No reply. Bet you $5 she shows up once there's talk of a will, Dad muttered. Not taking that bet, I said. Kyle, though. I kept pinging his phone. Left 4 voicemails over 2 days. Hey, Dad's not doing great. Can you call me? Heart rate's dropping. He's barely eating. I don't want to make this call twice. Please just call me. All lies, but convincing. I even left one message while boiling sweet tea on the stove for background noise. Made it sound like I was crying into the receiver. I wasn't. But I wanted him to believe I was breaking. He didn't call back, just liked another beach photo on Instagram. By Thursday, the neighbors started showing up. Edith from next door brought over some apples and dry-ass muffins wrapped in cling wrap. She stood in the kitchen with her coat still on and whispered, I thought something was wrong. I haven't seen Kyle here in months. Then came Harold, neighbor on the other side. Vietnam vet with too many opinions. He smelled like gasoline and menthols. Told Kyle last month to fix the fence. Dog keeps getting out. Kid just stared at me like I was speaking French. He spit into a tissue. He don't care about nobody but himself. Dad would nod and cough weakly every few minutes while I jotted down witness statements in a notebook labeled medical log. We recorded everything. I staged Dad's meds in a little plastic tray and took photos with today's newspaper in the shot. Fake pill counts. Oxygen tank gauges dropped slightly each day. We even left one voicemail from Dr. Berman, using Patricia's assistant reading off a medical update in her best monotone. Patient is not stable. Recommend family visitation as soon as possible. I sent that one directly to Brooke. No reply. You ever think you missed your calling? Dad asked one night, while I snapped another photo of his foot hooked under a wool blanket, skin pale from the desk lamp. What, private investigator? I asked. Number con artist. He grinned. You're running a full-blown sting operation. I shrugged. Let's bury him. He looked proud, not sentimental, just satisfied. Later that night, while I was updating the medical log with made-up pulse readings and symptom notes, he cleared his throat. You remember when Kyle broke his arm in 5th grade? Vaguely. I was working doubles. You took him to the hospital. I nodded. Sat in that waiting room for 6 hours. You didn't even like him back then, Dad said. He was a brat. He was still my kid, I muttered. Dad didn't say anything after that. Just stared up at the ceiling. We had a routine now. Every morning I'd adjust the fake oxygen hose. He'd go pale and slack-jawed for the camera. I'd text the pics to Brooke with some line like, he slept most of the day. Doesn't remember my name. Still nothing. One night I got bold and messaged Kyle again. He stopped eating completely. I think we've got days left. Please, just call. Silence. But I kept stacking the file. The neighbors signed written statements. I added times, notes, fake call logs, blood pressure readings I pulled off Google. The binder we'd started now had tabs. We even gave it a title. Phase 1. I want a copy sent to Patricia this weekend, I told Dad. I want all of this on record. She's expecting it, he said, reaching for the remote. We should call this thing Operation Deadbeat. I couldn't help it. I actually laughed. We sat there, the two of us, in a room that smelled like rubbing alcohol and freezer-burned Salisbury steak, plotting the takedown of his own son. And I didn't feel an ounce of guilt. Because this wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about accountability. And we were just getting started. After dinner, canned chili dressed up with garlic and some leftover stuffing, Dad waved me down the hall. I've got something to show you, he said. He led me into the old office. Used to be full of books and car magazines. Now it smelled like incense and lavender oil. Kyle's mom, Nancy, had turned it into a prayer room last year. Left her framed Bible verses and fake candles all over the place, like she was trying to sanctify the damage. Dad walked straight to the wall across from the desk. There was a crooked landscape painting, some mountain lake thing in muted colors. He reached up, slid it to the side, and tapped the panel behind it. You're not going to find this on Zillow, he said. He popped the panel loose with a butter knife. Behind it, a black waterproof case, military grade by the looks of it, the kind you could throw off a boat and still open dry. Go ahead, he said. Open it. I sat on the floor and cracked it open. Inside were 6 folders, color-coded and labeled in Dad's blocky handwriting. Beneath them, 2 flash drives and a thin binder marked Property Holdings. I opened the first folder. Investment account statements. Not junk either. Mutual funds, dividend stocks, foreign bonds, all active, all current. I flipped through them fast. Jesus Christ, I muttered. This is $2.7 million, he said. Spread across a few places. I stopped trusting U.S. banks after the divorce. I looked up. None of it's in your name? Not directly. Patricia set up the shell accounts years ago. Most of it's protected through a trust. Kyle's not even listed as a contingent. Nancy either. You've been hiding this? More like protecting it, he said. They've been draining the visible stuff. Pension, checking, life insurance cash outs. But this? This is untouchable. I picked up one of the flash drives. What's on here? Backups, paper trails, passwords, deed transfers. It's all clean. Patricia vetted everything after the cancer diagnosis. I flipped open the property holdings binder. It had 5 addresses in 3 different states, all listed under some name I didn't recognize. That holding company? I asked. He nodded. Owned by a trust. That trust's owned by me, but through a friend's firm. Looks boring on paper. Purposefully. And this house? Same deal. Kyle thinks it's his once I kick. Let him dream. I sat back on my heels. My hands were shaking. Not from nerves. From the sudden weight of knowing everything we'd just staged was about to be backed by serious firepower. You planned all this before they even left, I said. He shrugged. They made it easy. Once Kyle started showing up late and leaving early, I knew he wasn't here for me. I thought about Kyle's fake smiles, his constant excuses, the way he'd leaned on me after Mom died, swearing we'd build something together. A shop, a business, a real future. All lies. You were gonna die and let him find this? I asked. Was. Not anymore. He's burned through every ounce of grace I had left. He closed the case and slid it back behind the panel like we were loading a safe. I always knew Kyle had his mother's smile, he muttered, but I didn't think he had her greed. I watched his face tighten, like he didn't want to say the next part, but he said it anyway. I didn't think he'd screw over his own father. He stood there in the soft, fake candlelight, looking old but solid, tired but not beaten. Why didn't you tell me all this before? I asked. Would you have listened? I didn't answer. He already knew. He turned toward the desk, grabbed his old flip phone and dialed. You calling Patricia? He nodded. It's time. He handed me the phone as it rang. You talk. She trusts you now. Patricia picked up on the second ring. Stuart? No, it's Darren, I said. We're ready. She didn't ask questions, just said, I'll be there Sunday with the paperwork. We ended the call. Dad sat down, slow, creaky knees and all. I stayed standing, staring at the wall where the painting had been. This house had been filled with so many lies, prayers that meant nothing, smiles that hid everything, and now secrets worth millions hidden behind fake lakes and plastic candles. But finally, something real was coming out of it. Dad leaned back in his chair, let out a long breath. You want to know the worst part? He said. What's that? I would have given it all to him, every cent, if he'd just shown up when it mattered. I didn't say a word. I didn't have to. By Sunday morning, he didn't even bother getting out of bed. I brought him a bowl of fresh peaches with cream. His favorite. Had to hit 2 different stores the night before to find peaches that didn't look like wax. I chilled the cream in a glass bowl, just like Mom used to do. He didn't say much at first, just took a slow bite, then let out a sound halfway between a grunt and a sigh. Damn, he said, voice scratchy. Tastes like 1983. We didn't talk much after that. Just sat there while Glenn Miller played low in the background. I grabbed a few of his old detective paperbacks, crinkled covers, the kind with square-jawed guys and dames who knew too much. He dozed in and out while I read a few pages, but he smiled every time I did the voices. Around 2 p.m., Patricia showed up in a navy blazer, notary in tow. She had 2 folders with her, one for me, one for the official records. Her assistant rolled in a little cart with a printer, witness forms, and the rest of the legal circus. Dad looked like death. But the second she walked in, he forced himself up, sat up straighter, brushed his hair back with a shaky hand. You look like hell, Patricia said. He gave her a crooked grin. Flattery won't get you paid any faster. I stepped aside while they ran through everything. She handed him page after page, deeds, trusts, asset transfers, the finalized will. Everything went to me. Whatever wasn't willed directly, including the house, transferred through the holding company. The rest went to 2 charities he picked himself, one for disabled veterans, one for hospice caregivers. Kyle got nothing. So did Nancy. Brooke was listed in the video but excluded from the actual will. That had been Dad's call. "Anyone object to the signatures?" the notary asked when they were done. "Only from beyond the grave," Dad rasped. They left around 4. Patricia said she'd file the paperwork first thing Monday. As soon as the door clicked shut, Dad motioned to the camcorder I'd already set up on the bookshelf. "You ready?" I asked. He nodded. "Let's do it." I hit record. The red light blinked on. Dad sat upright in bed, his voice clear, not loud, but firm. No coughs, no dramatics. Just him and the camera. "This is Stuart Raymond Keller," he began, "and if you're seeing this, it means I'm gone." He paused. Let the silence settle. "You all saw me as a burden. I saw you as my son, my family, and I waited, longer than I should have, for you to come around." He looked straight into the lens. "Kyle, I'm talking to you. I gave you chances. I trusted you with things a man should never have to trust someone else with. You failed me. No rage, just flat truth." He moved on to Nancy, then Brooke. Each one got a few lines. He wasn't cruel, just sharp, measured. "This isn't revenge," he said. "This is closure, for me." I watched from the hallway, arms crossed, heart pounding. Not because I was sad, because I knew this video would cut deeper than any legal document ever could. When he was done, I stopped the recording. He leaned back into the pillows, chest rising slow and shallow. "You want to rest?" I asked. He shook his head. "No point. I'm close." I sat next to him, not sure what else to do. The room smelled like peaches and antiseptic. The Glenn Miller CD had looped back to Moonlight Serenade. He looked over at me. "You think they'll care?" "They'll care about what they lost," I said. He gave a soft chuckle. "Then that's enough." He didn't say anything else for a while. Just stared at the ceiling with this tired peace in his eyes. I kept thinking he'd say more, give some final line like in the movies. But around midnight, he just stopped breathing. No gasp, no tremble, just one breath. Then nothing. I sat there with my hand around his, warm at first, then cold. I stayed for an hour, didn't cry, didn't move. I'd known the man my whole life, but I only started respecting him 4 days ago. And now he was gone. Monday, right at noon, the front door burst open like a SWAT raid. Kyle came in first, sunburned and still wearing his crew's wristband. Loud board shorts, tank top, sunglasses on his head like a damn tourist walking into a crime scene. Lisa trailed behind, wheeling a small pink suitcase. She looked hungover and lost. Then Nancy came in hot, purse clutched tight, and already snapping at someone on speakerphone. "I told the damn spa I'd be there by 11. She stopped cold when she saw me. Kyle looked around like he was expecting to see balloons. "Where's Dad?" I didn't blink. "In the ground." Kyle's stupid grin didn't drop right away. He thought I was joking. "What?" "Saturday night. Service was yesterday." His whole face dropped, mouth open, eyes wide. Lisa backed up a step toward the front door. Nancy's lips twisted like she'd bitten to raw ginger. "No one called us?" she snapped. "I left 5 voicemails," I said. "You were on a beach." I walked over to the dining table, picked up the manila envelope and handed it to Kyle. "This is from Dad." He took it, hands twitching like he wasn't sure whether to rip it open or throw it down. I didn't wait. I opened a second copy and started reading out loud. "Kyle, you abandoned your responsibilities. You ignored my condition. You left a note instead of a goodbye. You saw me as a burden. I saw you as my son." His neck flushed red. Nancy crossed her arms and shifted her weight like she was prepping to object. Lisa was practically halfway out the door. You missed holidays. You lied about my care. You took money you didn't earn. I glanced up. Sound familiar? You don't get to do this, Kyle snapped. He wasn't in his right mind. You manipulated him. You want manipulation? I asked, stepping over to the entertainment center. Here's manipulation. I grabbed the remote and hit play. The screen lit up with Dad's face, tired, but clear. His voice filled the room. This is Stuart Raymond Keller. If you're seeing this, I'm gone. And if you're Kyle, I'm disappointed, not angry. You weren't there. You knew I was dying and you walked out. You left me cold, hungry, and alone. Kyle's mouth opened, but nothing came out. Dad continued, calm as ever. You took money meant for my care. You let Lisa make decisions like she was family. You turned your back on the man who raised you. Nancy looked like she was about to faint. Lisa froze in place, eyes glued to the screen. You were supposed to be my son, Dad said. You were supposed to show up. I hit pause. No one spoke. Then Kyle snapped. He was sick. He didn't know what he was doing. Funny, I said. He sure sounded clear enough to me. You don't get to cut us out, Nancy barked. You're not even... That's when the door opened again. Patricia walked in, heels sharp against the tile, folder under her arm. No smile. No greeting. Oh, we're not thinking, she said. It's already done. Kyle turned to her like a drowning man spotting land. This is a setup. He tricked my father into changing everything. Patricia set her folder on the table. Stuart Keller updated his will with full capacity. I have 3 witnesses, a medical record, and video documentation. You want to challenge it? She smiled, but it was cold. Please do. Nancy pointed a shaking finger at me. This is theft. No, Patricia said, flipping open the folder. This is justice. And you, ma'am, are not entitled to a dime. You were removed from any financial rights 8 months ago. That includes this house. Lisa finally spoke, voice barely above a whisper. I didn't want any of this. Kyle whipped around. Are you serious? She stepped back. You said he was already halfway gone. You said it was handled. You said we were building a future. She grabbed her suitcase and walked out without another word. Nancy turned to Kyle. Tell me you at least protected Brooks' college account. That did it. His face gave everything away. You didn't, she whispered. Patricia glanced at me. I'd recommend you both find a hotel. This house is no longer yours. Kyle stared at me like he wanted to fight. You think this makes you better? You think this fixes all your screw-ups? I stepped in close, handed him something cold and small. My wedding band. Take it, I said. I'm done carrying your weight. He opened his hand and looked down. I dropped my apartment keys in next. That's for the place I paid rent on when you were watching Dad. I won't need it anymore. He looked stunned, small, like the child he always acted like. I turned around and walked straight past them while they stood there frozen in the living room. This wasn't revenge, it was consequence, and it was long overdue. Patricia didn't waste time. She laid it all out right there in the living room, standing by the mantel like she owned the place. And after today, she might as well have. Per the updated will, she said, opening the folder again, all assets have been transferred. The properties are now held under the trust. Darren is the sole beneficiary. This house, the investments, the offshore accounts. Kyle, you are not listed anywhere. Kyle's mouth moved, but nothing came out. Nancy gasped so loud it echoed. This is a scam, she yelled, spinning toward me. This was my house, my family's. Patricia cut her off without flinching. Actually, no. This house was purchased in 2003 under a holding company Stuart controlled. Your name was never on the deed, nor the mortgage. And based on his records, you haven't contributed financially since 2011. Nancy blinked like she'd been slapped. Lisa? She was already edging toward the door. I watched her slip out mid-argument, dragging her little suitcase behind her like she wanted to vanish before the real explosion hit. Good call. I moved to the hallway, figured I'd let Patricia handle the fallout. That's when I heard Brooke's voice, loud, pissed, and coming fast. "You spent it?" She stomped in through the front door, holding her phone in one hand and some printed documents in the other. Her hair was a mess, eyes red like she hadn't slept. Kyle tried to play dumb. "Spent what?" "My college fund," she snapped, shoving the papers against his chest. "You told me it was frozen for taxes. It's gone, Kyle. Dad told me you'd take care of it." "Things got tight. You went to the damn Caribbean." They went at it full force, Brooke throwing every betrayal back in his face, Kyle doing that spineless flinch he always pulled when he got caught. Nancy tried to calm her down, but Brooke wasn't having it. "You're just as bad," she shouted at Nancy. "You knew! You let him!" I didn't step in. Not my fight. Not anymore. Kyle broke off and came straight at me like he had something left to salvage. His face was flushed and sweaty, voice fake soft like it used to be when he begged for money. "We can work this out," he said, trying to sound steady. "I know I screwed up, but Lisa meant nothing. It was just a mess. Things got away from me." I didn't move. "Dad's gone," he added, quieter now. "That should mean we come together, not fall apart." I reached into my pocket and pulled out what I had left to give him. My wedding band. I dropped it in his hand, cold metal against his skin. Then I added the apartment keys. He looked down, confused. "What is this?" "You left a dying man with a note," I said. "You don't come back from that." His face collapsed. "Darren, please." I turned and walked past him, past Patricia and Nancy still yelling about property taxes, past Brooke sobbing on the stairs, out the front door, down the steps, into the sun. The air smelled like cut grass and smoke from someone burning leaves. I hadn't noticed it all week. Behind me, the yelling kept going, voices rising, overlapping, clashing. But it didn't follow me. For once, I didn't feel tied to it. I felt done, felt free. I hit the driveway, didn't even look back at the house. Not at the porch where Kyle used to wait for me as a kid. Not at the tree swing that had rotted out and collapsed years ago. I climbed into the truck, closed the door, and started the engine. Let them scream. Let them tear each other to shreds. I had my answer, and I was finished making excuses for people who only showed up when the money did. I checked into a little roadside motel on the edge of town. Room smelled like lemon cleaner and old air conditioning, but it was quiet. Clean enough. No family photos on the walls, no reminders of what came before. I dumped my bag on the floor, kicked off my boots, and sat on the edge of the bed. Just sat there for a while, staring at the wall, not thinking, not feeling, just letting the silence settle. Eventually, I pulled out the folder and spread everything across the bed. Will copies, property records, transfer confirmations, the signed notary statements, all of it neat, final. I flipped through each one slow, line by line. Not because I doubted Patricia. She was sharp, but because I needed to see it with my own eyes. It was done. I checked my email. Sure enough, she'd already filed everything with the county. Digital timestamps, finalized documents, ironclad. I let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. A little after 9, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Edith, the neighbor. Simple, straight to the point. "He was a good man. So are you." I stared at that for a long time. Didn't reply. Couldn't. Next morning, I packed up early and took a detour past the old house. Kyle's car was gone. No sign of Nancy. Porch light was off. In the front yard, leaning crooked in the patchy grass, was a red and white "For sale by owner" sign. Good luck with that. I didn't stop. Just slowed enough to get one last look. The mailbox still had the dent from when Kyle backed into it senior year. The tree out front, the one I used to trim every spring, had overgrown so much it touched the gutter. The lawn looked like nobody cared anymore. Fitting. I pulled onto the main road and headed out. The truck rumbled steady beneath me. Wind poured in through the cracked window. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like I was running from something. I thought about Dad, his dumb war stories, the way he made coffee with powdered creamer even when real milk was in the fridge, his old Glenn Miller records. That one stupid detective novel he reread every winter like the ending might change. And the way he said it, "Shall we begin?" Like it meant something. Maybe it did. I'd buried a lot that week. Anger, guilt, some of it mine, most of it his. But I'd also buried a man on his own terms, and I walked away with something no one could steal. Not a dollar, not a deed, dignity. For him, for me. I rolled the window down all the way, let the wind hit full blast, sun on my arms, road wide open ahead, said it out loud to no one. "Thanks, Dad. You gave me more than Kyle ever did." Then I drove. Didn't know where yet. Didn't matter.
YouTube picked this for you. Tap it. Let's see if they guessed right.